here to talk about the Philippines. Now, China, the PRC, claims almost the entire South China Sea, including a bunch of islands and shoals that are very close to the Philippines. And this, of course, has been the source of conflict for some time. But tell us about the latest incident that's happened there.
Well, what was happening was there was a what's called a RORE mission, RORE. That's a rotation and resupply exercise to an island shoal called Ayunan Shoal, which is about 120 miles off of the island of Palawan.
And this is the same thing that we call the Second Thomas Shoal.
It is, correct. Second Thomas Shoal. And this is where the Philippines has this, what we like to refer to as the rusting condominium beach there, which is a World War II landing craft ship that's rusting away. And it has anywhere from about 12 to 15 Navy sailors on board. And so these missions are designed to rotate those sailors off and supply them with food and water. And this most recent incident follows many that you've seen in the media over the last many, many months and years. And this particular one, what happened was that China brought in just enormous steel hull forces to try to block this resupply mission. So, Matt, just in case you're interested, the Chinese brought some 38 vessels to try to block 5 coming from the Philippines. The 5 Philippine ships consist of 3 Coast Guard ships and 2 small wooden boats, maybe 30, 40 feet, that are privately rented and manned by the Philippine Navy, not wearing uniforms.
Like the fishing catamarans?
No, they are single-hulled fishing boats, and they're carrying food and water and supplies. And the idea is to get inside this shoal, get up to the Sierra Madre, which is BRP 57 is the number on the ship, and rotate sailors off and supply food. So this most recent incident, the Chinese had some 38 vessels up against the Philippines 5. And the Philippines 5 had 3 steel hulls. Those are Philippine Coast Guard ships, plus these 2 wooden fishing boats at the 30 to 40 foot length, carrying food. And so there was the standard bullying, pushing around, and dangerous maneuvering. And the good news is that the Philippine Navy seamen aboard the resupply ships managed to outmaneuver the Chinese yet again, and mission accomplished. But it's a increasing progressive bullying narrative that in the past has resulted in some minor collisions. The Chinese got ahead of themselves on one that occurred back, I guess it was in September, and they ran one of their ships up on the reef and crippled it. And the Philippine Coast Guard took great delight in offering to tow the ship off, but the Chinese declined. So that's kind of where we are, and this situation continues to escalate. It's very dangerous. It's very unsafe, and it's the maritime equivalent, Matt, of what you heard Dave Stilwell talk about these maneuvers that are taking place with U.S., Canadian, and Australian aircraft. Very dangerous maneuvers coming very close, and it's continuing to escalate. And there will be likely some serious accident coming up.
You said that the Chinese side had 38 ships. What kind of ships were they in comparison to the 3 Coast Guard vessels and 2 fishing boats on the Filipino side? And is this an escalation? Have they always sent so many ships?
No, I think it is an escalation. This most recent one, there were 10 ships from the Chinese Coast Guard. Those would be steel hulls, another 10 ships, vessels, so far as I know, from the People's Liberation Army Navy, full-on military craft, and there were the balance were Chinese militia, all steel hull big ships. I think we have to be careful about the term the Chinese maritime militia, because those are steel hull ships that are supposed to be out there fishing, but they don't really carry the crews, and they're many cases they're carrying armaments. So they're basically military ships operating under a civilian disguise. This whole strategy comes from the PLA announced some years ago, called a cabbage strategy. And that is the plan to block various islands or reefs, kind of like you would with a cabbage, with all kinds of ships surrounding it so that it's impossible to get through. And this is one of the challenges that the Philippines has. I mean, within their exclusive economic zone, they have a blockade going. This is at Second Thomas Shoal. And they have a series of full-on military bases, and one of them is Mischief Reef, which is about 23 miles from this Second Thomas Shoal. It's very close.
And what has China done with Mischief Reef in terms of how have they occupied and militarized it?
Well, China has. This is one of the islands or reef locations where China has utilized what we call the Great Wall of Sand, and has built up a major military base there with runway and facilities. They've got a small port, and it is right inside, well inside the Philippine exclusive economic zone, and it's very close to this a Union Shoal where the Sierra Madre is, Second Thomas Shoal.
So what is the kind of what is the reason that the PRC, the CCP cares so much about Second Thomas Shoal and the Philippines having the Sierra Madre and having these Navy sailors on there? Because it obviously bothers them enough to send so many ships to try to harass these missions. So what is the reason behind that?
Well, I mean, Shelley, that's a really, really important question, and it really relates to the belligerence, if you will, the bullying of China. They're trying to clean out all of the sovereignty claims that the Philippines has inside of its so-called nine dash line. And this whole process, in terms of starting to build uh, presence in the Spratly Islands, started way back in the mid 1990s. The Chinese started putting modest little fishing shelters, and they gradually increased with this concept of salami slicing. So they got bigger and bigger operations. And then, if you recall, I guess it was in 2012, there was this big Scarborough Shoal incident off of the island of Luzon. And the Scarborough Shoal is a fantastic fishing ground about 120 miles out, and it's kind of a triangular reef, if you could imagine it, with a little small opening with all kinds of fish in there. And so it's an important asset for the Philippines, well inside their exclusive economic zone. And so there was an incident there that our country was involved in, the United States, and the what happened was that the Philippines lost sovereignty over that, and China has taken it over and blocks access for the Philippine fishermen. And so you recall recently, China attempted to put a net to block the Philippine fishing fleets from even getting into Second Thomas Shoal. And you recall there was an incident where the Philippine Coast Guard went out and had a diver go down, and there were video cameras and everything. You can see him cutting the rope that opened up that the Scarborough Shoal for fishing. So it's a progressive salami slicing effort to essentially clean this little country called the Republic of the Philippines, clean it out of all of its island claims so that China can have it.